What's up, everybody? This is Cole Boling with the Boling Group at Keller Williams Realty, One Legacy Partners here in Topeka, and you are listening to Topeka Business Uncensored. Here we go. Hey, everybody, this is Cole Boling with Topeka Business Uncensored, and I am so excited about today. I've been trying to get these guys on my podcast here for a little while now, and I've got them. And a lot of you guys will know these gentlemen. They have a great marketing campaign, and I've got Gary and Tyler Patterson here today, and they are the Patterson Legal Group, the good guys. Like everybody knows the good guys. And I will tell you from a personal experience, these are two of the most genuine guys. I have actually not got to meet Tyler in person, but I have met Gary, and Gary let me drive his Tesla one day. I'll tell you what, I've never been more excited about a Tesla. I had a lot of excitement before that, but these guys are genuine, and I really wanted to showcase what it's like to be a well-known figure in a community, be genuine and staying genuine through all the years of their business. So welcome, gentlemen, to my podcast.
Thank you, Cole. We appreciate being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So first off, I think everybody knows that you guys are attorneys and you guys are a legal group, but talk a little bit to me and everybody about what it is you really do.
Let me start off. Well, we advertise mostly, I think, about car wrecks, but we do a lot more than that. We do, we've handled some medical malpractice cases. We don't do a lot of that, but we do pretty much anytime people are injured and it's maybe someone else's fault, then we can get involved. And we've handled cases like we handled the case one time where a guy died on a prison transportation bus from a heat stroke, that there wasn't enough air conditioning in the bus to keep people alive, basically. We've had people get electrocuted in trees that power lines have been, sparking for years, and the electric company did nothing about it. So really any kind of injury to people that shouldn't have happened, then they can call us and we try to deal with it.
So typically it is injury, auto though, right? You do it mostly with auto?
Yeah, that's probably 90% of our business, I suppose. And that's what we advertise. We're the most injuries, I think, at least that we deal with, are auto related.
That's our catchphrase. In a wreck, need a check. And that's, when someone gets in a car accident, there's a lot of things that you don't think about. When you go to the hospital, perhaps, and you've got medical bills that come in. Lots of times when there's serious injuries, you might be off of work for a couple of weeks while you're dealing with those things. So we're going in really at a time where people's lives are in chaos and they're not really sure what to do. And we're just kind of guiding them through the whole process. And you can do it on your own. If you do, it can be dangerous working directly with an insurance company.
Sure.
Lots of times insurance companies are about profits and they'll try to settle claims as cheaply as possible. But when you have someone that is your advocate and working on your behalf and sees hundreds of these cases every year, we can point you in the right direction. We know what a good offer is. So it's one of those things that really kind of sells itself.
So you kind of bring up a good point, right? And I don't want to steer away from the business side of this podcast. Like, you're right. They are a business and so are you, right? Yet what's interesting is their client is, if you're coming to them from my side of it, looking at this, like if you're going to them, you're not going to probably ever get the best deal, because you guys are a business that's going to make more money if the client gets a better deal. Would that be kind of a fair way of saying it?
That's exactly right. Yeah, we're partners on every single case. So that's even how we handle the attorney fee, and every injury lawyer handles it in a similar manner, where it's called a contingency fee, where you just pay a percentage, but that ends up benefiting our clients because we are partners in this, and we will do everything possible to get as much money as we can for people, because in the process, we make more money doing that too.
Yeah, and I think that people do get a little funny when they're like, oh, well, and everybody who owns a business here is just like, oh, you're just out to make money. Well, of course, and so are you, right? If you're a consumer, like, and if you're going to have to sue somebody, like, isn't the whole idea is you're going to make more money? So it definitely makes 100% to get into business with somebody who actually cares about more than just the profit, but it is a big factor of it. Like it shouldn't be negative, right? And I think that we live in a society where people get really funny about money, and it shouldn't be. It should be knowing that that is in relation to the care piece of it. Like, because you're successful, I care about you being successful, because we also care about being successful. And it's no different in real estate, right? Like, if I'm helping somebody sell a home, I want you to make the most money you could possibly make, because I make more money, right? And I don't want to ever steer away people from not realizing that, but that's the reason you genuinely want to work with people like you guys, right? And that's why your slogan is so powerful, the good guys, right?
Yeah,
and how'd you come up with this whole good guys theme?
Well, I'll kind of address that a little bit.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, this is way before Tyler, right?
Yeah, it was. But so maybe it was like, I don't know, how many years have you been there?
About 8.
So probably 10 or 15 years ago, we met a person. I think he was located in Louisiana, and he represents attorneys throughout the nation. And you can either be the good guy or the heavy hitter. And so I've watched some commercials about heavy hitter, that the attorneys that were the heavy hitter. And I always thought that if you're a heavy hitter, the first thing you don't want to do is be telling people that you're a heavy hitter, that it sort of means that you're not, if you have to say that, So the good guys, I felt like, fit our philosophy and our law firm and our personality much better than somebody that, is like the gunslinger, or the guy that knocks you off, So anyway, So now we switched advertising agencies about 3 or 4 years ago now. And so if we really are not actually, you'll notice probably that we no longer advertise as being the good guys. We no longer wear cowboy hats. And our slogan now basically is, in a wreck, need a check. For one call, that's all. Different types of messages.
I hate to say it though, you're always going to be the good guy. So it is
well, that's branding though. Like, that's the highest level of branding, when you can never get away from your original branding.
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah. So anyway, but we feel like it was a change that has kind of put us on a new level when we got a different advertising.
Was that a natural progression for you guys, or was that like, it was just time where it's like, I want to change it up? Or did you see that something showed up in your world that pushed you into this new advertising company?
Tyler is really responsible for this. I think he could talk to you about that better than I can.
So in law school, we were in an ethics class and watching commercials on attorney advertising. And there was one commercial that they played, and it's like, is this ethical or not? And it was a guy that was dressed as Superman and flying through the sky. It was really an incredible commercial. It was entertaining. I'm like, man, I really like this guy. So I just call him up out of the blue. Like, hey, this is our current situation. We really had kind of outgrown our current marketing company. And this guy has really been like a godsend. He became my mentor. He invited me out to Arizona to meet with him. He's got a group of people, like a mastermind committee of a bunch of different law firms of all different sizes all across the country that meet together a couple times a year. And they all come together and just share ideas. So
that's big.
Instead of like coming up with all these new processes and new marketing, there's really no reason to reinvent the wheel. All of these firms are successful in what they're doing, and we all come together and kind of cherry pick best practices. So that for us has really been transformational. And that's also how we met our current marketing company through my mentor.
Okay. I got you. Okay.
So Tyler's mentor used to be a client of the guy that I said that you could pick to be a heavy hitter or the good guy.
Yeah.
He picked the heavy hitter. So he's been on for years talking about all the heavy hitter,
Yeah.
And he's
It's
a great
funny
guy.
because when we lived in Florida for a little while. We had to try it. We had to branch out and see some other things. And it's funny because in major markets like this, the advertising you guys have done and kind of a smaller market. I mean, I would say Topeka, Wichita, that would be considered a smaller market. Kansas City is still somewhat of a smaller market. I mean, it's bigger. But what you guys are doing on this scale, people do it in these bigger cities on a massive scale. And Tyler, you hit the nail on the head. It doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. There's somebody that's better than you somewhere in the world, and they're not your competition. They're your mentors. They're the people. And most of the time, what I have found is the people that are doing better than us don't look down on us. They want to help us, right? And a lot of people look at and you probably experienced too. New attorneys are like, oh yeah, I'm going to outdo them one day, right? They look at it all wrong. And I love what you say. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Find somebody in a different city that isn't your competition and just ask for help. And I love that. And so what you're telling us and the listeners is that you guys had a plan for a while. You followed it. You created a nice brand, and that was really just you, Gary, right? And then Tyler comes in, and Tyler's like, "Hey, let's expand it. Let's go bigger, right? And let's service more, and yet let's do it in more of a even a different tagline. So we're still the good guy. We're the good guys now, right? And that now we're Interact, Need a Check, and it will probably continue to evolve. Where do you see your evolution going?
Really, I mean, Kansas and Missouri are our hometowns. So like we will always be a Kansas and Missouri firm. I see us moving into the future as being more local in various communities, because it's difficult to have an attorney and not be able to go into an office. And there's a lot of little towns throughout both states that don't really have access to be able to go into a law firm. So being accessible is really the next stage in business for us.
Would that be like bringing on more attorneys? Is that kind of something you guys are looking at doing?
That certainly comes with it. Bringing on more attorneys, having the local presence of attorneys in each office.
We've kind of found that our office can also be a source of advertising for us. So like in Wichita, we now have 3 offices. And the building itself is kind of free advertising, I guess, because we typically are on highly traveled streets, and the same on Wanamaker. And then we've opened up a St. Joseph, Missouri office as well. And now we have one in Garden City as well. So,
and that was a big battle between us, really, was we had this gorgeous, we had a gorgeous headquarters in Wichita, and it overlooked the river, and there's a big statue called the Keeper of the Plains, and it was just a beautiful view. But it was in this big office tower, and it was really far removed from the street. And as people came in, I mean, it was really intimidating going into this law firm. It's like this classic law firm with like the big law library and the big conference room table. And it's great in some context to be intimidating, but most of the time we want to be welcoming, and we want to be more a part of the community that we serve. And so that's like our new office design is really centered around that. It's being street level, it's being easily accessible, it's trying to make it less intimidating. It's nerve-wracking. If most people never have to deal with lawyers. Like when I'm talking to someone on the phone, it's probably the first time that they've ever talked to an attorney, and you can hear it in their voice. So anything that we can do to comfort people comes into play.
You said something that just triggered me with your branding and what your environment, how connected that is. So Gary, you're talking about heavy hitter and you're talking
Right.
about good guy, right? Like,
Right.
I think that if I'm going to see the heavy hitter, I'm expecting to walk into the Harvard office, right? The libraries are just intimidating. But when I'm looking at meeting with the good guy, it's like I'm looking at walking into my CPA's office, right? Like I just
Yeah.
feel like I'm gonna
Right.
sit down and we're gonna have a conversation, right? And I don't even know if I knew my brain thought that way, but yet for some reason I had that thought of like going
Yeah.
into your
You're
office.
probably right.
I didn't even think about being a heavy hitter, but if you would have said if your branding would have been heavy hitter, because I know heavy hitter attorneys, right?
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately,
Sure.
I have to in our business. And
Right.
if I was to walk into their office, like I expect it to smell like 1950 and have
Yeah.
encyclopedias,
Leather-bound
everywhere.
books.
Right? Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know if that's just
Sure.
some
Well,
cliche Hollywood thing, but
I think there's different strokes for different folks too, and,
Sure.
and sometimes you want a lawyer that's a complete asshole, and for whatever your purpose is. We're not that, we try not to be that. And we treat everybody with respect, and we insist upon our staff and our attorneys having that same mindset, because at the end of the day, the opposing counsel that you're working with is going to be recommending whether the insurance company writes you a check or not. And if he hates your guts, and if it's personal and you're just out to destroy him, he's out to destroy you as well. And I don't want anybody staying up late at night figuring out ways to do harm to me or my firm or my clients. I'd rather them like me and want me to do well, want our clients to do well. So we treat insurance adjusters, opposing counsel, judges, all with the same level of respect as we do our family. So that's kind of our attitude.
do you find people are intimidated because of your branding, because you are so well known when you do finally come in? And like if you're going to opposing counsel or something who's kind of a smaller firm or something, and they know that, hey, Gary and Tyler coming in, everybody knows Gary and Tyler, or do you ever find that people you see or feel any intimidation there?
I'll say it's not intimidation. It's like welcome. It's like, oh my gosh,
Are they
there's the
starstruck?
good guy. Oh my God, Gary Patterson. Tyler
What about the
Patterson.
competition? Maybe they want to beat you now so they can say they beat the good guys, right?
Yeah,
So
probably. But you know what? The other thing that Tyler and I kind of learned also through this past year or two is I've had attorneys that I've really had major problems with that were also plaintiffs' attorneys. Like, we're fighting over, maybe our client fired me and went to them, or vice versa, and you get kind of angry with each other. But if you really, it's much better to be on a good relationship with all the other attorneys that are doing the same thing that we're doing as well. And we've had attorneys that have asked me to represent their mother or their father, or people that they have a conflict with. And
Sure.
It's been really a wonderful relationship. So we can refer them people as well that we're unable to represent. And it makes life go by so much better, and we're all happier if we try to be kind to each other.
I think that's the ultimate compliment when you refer your mom. It really is.
Especially when he asked him for the mom to sue him, basically,
Yeah, well, we had a nice compliment recently. We had a mortgage lender who works with every real estate person in the area hire us to be their agent.
Wow.
And I'm like, that tells you something, right? When like they genuinely know, like, we take care of people and they see the back end, right? Because most people don't see the back end. Like, probably even your guys' clients, they don't see all of the files and all the notes and all the communication. And the same thing with, in real estate is, like, the back end is where the things get done. And that's where the money gets made and the people get that everything they want to happen, and not forward facing. So like, for you guys, like, do you find that when you're working with clients, for instance, like, do you find that people are more just like, tell me where I'm at, or do they want to know more? Or you guys, I guess that's kind of what I want to know is, like,
Sure.
do you find that
Yeah.
people are
That's,
into the process?
I think it really varies. I would say the majority of people, they've got enough going on in their life. And if you can just provide full service for them and give guidance that way, just make your recommendation. They don't need to know what goes into making the sausage. But there are people that are very intelligent and or maybe not as busy, and they want to be more involved with every step along the way. And I think that's kind of our job as attorneys, is to figure out, like, okay, where is our client? What is their goal in this case? And what level of education do we need to provide to them so that they understand why it is that we're doing what it is that we're doing? So it really just
Yeah.
varies.
So the word I heard there is trust, right? So what's fascinating is, like, I would think that in either of our fields, like, when people trust us, they probably don't question as much of the back end stuff, right? Now, you
Yeah.
have those natural students who want to know stuff. Like, if I was a client, and let's hope I never have to be, not for any other reason, I'd love to work with you guys, but I don't want to be that client. But I would trust you enough, but I'm a student too, so I'd be more fascinated by it. But I think I could go home and know that it was being taken care of. And I think that is one of the biggest things that I can say from an outside brand point of view, from your branding, is the good guys, and that whole branding brought so much trust to the community. And everybody I've talked to, right? Because you guys may not get this all the time, but everybody I talked to when I was saying, hey, I've got Gary coming on doing the podcast, they're like, oh yeah, he seems like such a good dude. Every time we see him, they make us laugh, whatever it may be. Nobody had a bad experience, and they've never met you in person. Most almost everybody I talk to, right?
Right. That's
Because
really is a benefit of being on TV a lot, is people, there's an old saying that familiarity breeds contempt, but it really doesn't. I mean, I feel like that if you're on TV a bunch, whether they like your commercial or not, if they recognize your face and your speech or your voice, then they really do trust you when it comes time for someone to need your services, that you don't really have to interview. You don't have to sell yourself to them.
there's no icebreaker.
They've already said, hey, I trust you. I called you, so you don't have to say, oh, I'm the best lawyer around. And, here's why you should hire us versus them. Once they call us and come in or sign up with it, they've already kind of made their mind up because of our presence in advertising, basically.
Yeah, and I love this, like, about the podcast, like, all the stuff that you guys are telling us, like, you can't get in a 30-second commercial.
Right. No way. That's exactly.
I would have never really thought about this aspect of it. I mean, like, I could take bits and pieces as a consumer and put together, they're probably going to take good care of me. They probably know what they're doing. They probably make good money for their clients, like all of that. But really talking with you and really hearing it from both of you, like, I just know that, like, I would call you guys before I'd ever even think about calling anybody else, because there is other heavy hitters in this area.
Sure.
And I don't know why they rub me wrong, right? I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it, but it may just be so unpersonalized. And I don't know. And I guess I'm giving you guys a major compliment here. Like you guys have made it where I feel like we know you, and there's a connection as a community, that you have an office in Topeka, but you're based in Wichita. And I don't think that people really even realize that. And it doesn't matter. Like, as you say, you've got attorneys, you've got you guys. I mean, you cover all these areas, but that's one thing I do love about this. And I just want to give you guys credit there.
I appreciate that.
That's that piece to say.
Really.
So,
Thank
yeah.
you. One of the things I was going to tell you, years ago, before we really started doing a lot of TV advertising, I've had a lot of different partnerships through the years that I've had my own business. Like I've been partners with different people. But at one point we decided to film a really classy commercial and get all dressed up and, talk in a low voice and very serious. And, I was, I did this in college and I was in this and I've done this and that, and I'm so great. And thinking that, man, is that ever going to hit home with people? So we spent, I think, $25,000 running this one, producing and running for a few times this one commercial. And the only people that liked it were other lawyers. Like, finally, somebody talks like we do and, really hit. We think that's the best commercial we've ever seen. We didn't get one single phone call from a real person, somebody that was injured that we were wanting to. And it was just crazy. And then our advertising people told, when we finally switched and started doing different kinds of commercials, it's like, that was the kind of commercial you would like and your lawyer buddies would like, but they've already got lawyers. They already know. You're going after the guy that doesn't know a lawyer, and you got to do something quirky and quick and kind of funny and make them laugh. And so, the quick little dumb commercials with red paddles up a Shit Creek or wherever we were at on that deal, make people remember you, and so they don't want you to be stodgy and all,
and we're seeing like that whole transition again with social media, where like the commercials have done really well on TV, but commercials don't do great when you just stick them on social media. Like if we play a commercial on Facebook or Instagram, it's terrible. It's like you got to read the room and know like what plays well with social media. So
it's 5 seconds, right?
Yeah, it's that like instant like dopamine hit that people get. Otherwise, they're flipping and they're on to the next thing. So it's a new format. It's more entertaining content, and it's kind of sneaking in every once in a while what it is that we do in the middle of things that are just completely entertaining and sometimes a little bit mindless. But that's what does well on social media.
Are you finding that your marketing company is doing a lot of testing and watching that to see? So like Gary, you said, hey, we spent $25,000 on this campaign and it ran for, X number of time. Well, nowadays they have so many more algorithms and ways of watching that. Like, does your marketing company go, hey, I'm not gonna let you spend $25,000 on this. If it's not working, we're gonna know in 2 weeks.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
Yes. Are you guys a lot more efficient in that now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Isn't that amazing, the difference of where it was? Because how many years ago was it you did that commercial?
Oh, probably 20, I would say.
So what about demographics, right? So like we take 20 years ago, now like your consumer who's watching TV and actually watching commercials is probably a little bit older generation. I mean, Tyler, I wouldn't assume that you're sitting at home watching commercials, but you're probably watching YouTube. Right, you're probably watching TikTok.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's a 5-second.
Right. So in order to target the younger demographic, like you can't do it on TV anymore. So I meet people now that are like, well, we know who you are, but it's not from your TV commercials. It's because you go and do, like, our big thing on social media right now has been tip videos. So we'll call in an order from like DoorDash or Grubhub, and then we'll surprise the driver with a $250 tip. And it's exciting. It's less transactional. The people don't see it coming. It's really fun to do. And it's done really well on social media. So some younger people.
So how are you branding that though?
From that. So we've got a initiative called Patterson Gives Back. And that all falls under Patterson Gives Back. We do a lot of like work in the community, like boots on the ground. Our whole team will show up and volunteer with different organizations, or we'll give away checks and do a check presentation. But the fun things to do on social media are the things that are surprises that people don't see coming.
So it's like not interact, get a check.
Just got a check.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just got a check. Didn't have to get direct.
You're out there hustling. We appreciate you. We want to give back to the community. And, I would rather do that all day long where we're like really making a difference in people's lives instead of paying that to the TV station to have my commercial playing 50 times a day.
Right. That's the difference though, right? Like as you grow a business in the beginning, it's really hard to give away money, right? Like it's just,
right.
Like we do live in such a scarcity world, and most people are grown that way, right? Most people don't live in abundant households from their youth to the, not everybody's a Tyler, that had a good guy, where he's like, wait. But the reality though is like when you do the right thing for a very long time, you can get to a point where you can give back and not expect anything in return and know that is really good. And in terms of branding, and I talk about, just like I talked about early on in the podcast, like it's not a bad thing to make money owning a business. It's not a bad thing to get money. Money's not bad, right? And I think that a lot of people give back and expect things, and that's not always bad either, right? Like you're doing it because you want to, but I still have a business to run, right? So I'm going to do it. I'm going to give back a lot. I'm not always going to have the camera on when I'm doing it, but sometimes I'm going to have the camera on.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly right.
And it's not bad. And anybody's listening to this, if you thought it was bad, like take a look in the mirror. It's not bad. It's branding. Everything is branding because it is the good guys doing good things, right? And even listen to you guys, you're compelling me to want to do more on video. Like when Jamie and I give back, like we don't always tell. A lot of times we do it in secret, and we probably should do better at it. And anybody who's religious or anybody who understands universal principles know that when you tithe or you give, like it does come back. But sometimes we got to give that push, right?
Yeah.
We got to give that push a little bit. So I love it.
I'm kind of with you in that, basically the Bible tells us that you shouldn't give in public, or you don't want to make a big deal about it. So I've had that kind of in the back of my mind. But Tyler had a video once where he gave away $500 to a Grubhub driver delivering pizza or something, and he got like 6 million hits on it or something like that because it was so heartwarming. Tell him what this guy was. Tell me about that.
He had like just been in a car accident, had hit a deer, and his rent was due, and they didn't have money for rent. And like all these like major catastrophic life events all at once. And then we show up, and it was like God putting him there at a specific time for a specific reason, and using us as an instrument in all of this.
Yeah, they were going to have to like move out the next day unless they came up with $500.
We just like burst into tears, and it was like it could not have gone better. And you do get feedback on like, you should do these things in private. Why do you put a camera in people's faces? Well, we always talk to people. We always get permission. If they don't want it broadcast, we won't broadcast it. I think you're right. It's important to do things in your own private life that you don't broadcast. But, as a business, we've got a platform. And if we can inspire other people to get out there and do the same thing, I think we're making the world a better place in doing that. I mean, I wish all marketing was like that.
You hit the nail on the head when you said, I have a platform, and it's also to get people else to do it too, right? Yeah. And that really is maybe the private piece Gary's talking about. Maybe it's you're doing it so that the other people will do it privately, right? And making it a bigger world. That's awesome that you went viral in a sense, right? I mean, that's, I guess, what they say, 500,000 now is viral. So yeah, you definitely went viral.
How can you look that up? Is there a certain way you could pull that up?
Sure.
Is it on TikTok, or how do you have it?
It's on TikTok. Our TikTok is Rec Check.
Rec? How do you spell it? Because that's obviously abbreviated.
WRECK. Rec Check. CH.
Oh, it's actually not abbreviated. Okay. That's your handle?
Yep.
Oh, I'm definitely.
And all the tip videos are pinned.
And that is a really good point. You know, like Gary, 20 years ago, you had to do commercial, you had to do radio, right?
Right.
Fast forward now, you need to do podcast advertising. You need to do TikTok.
Yes,
You got to do your
yes.
5-second. You got to do your 5-second YouTube videos. I mean, you can still do video, right? Like you could do in a rec, need a check in 5 seconds, right? I think you guys are doing that, aren't you? Like, are you guys doing the first 5 seconds on YouTube before it gets before they could skip the ad?
I don't know that we are actually.
Well, now you're going to.
Like
But so, well, I mean, if you think about it, if you pull up YouTube right now and you have it as an advertised anything, like it's 5 seconds before people could skip.
Yeah.
It's you pay for. So here's what's fascinating, and I did a class. I have somewhat of a marketing company, but I did a class to be a Google advertiser. Well, Google owns YouTube, and one of the top things they've really pushed now is if you can't brand yourself in 5 seconds, you're wrong. And so YouTube went to this platform where you in 5 seconds or less, if you can get out there, they'll push you. Their algorithms will push you more for not hardly any more money than you're already paying. But if you ever watch it, like how many times do we watch it? And you're gonna think about this now. How many times do we watch it? And I have no idea who it was before I could hit skip. Because I'm hitting skip. I don't care. I don't care if it is you guys and I know you. Like I'm like, oh, there they are again, skip. Right. But if you have a one-line slogan that takes 1 second to say, there's a big easy, and it's not that expensive. I mean, compared to TV advertisement, it's cheap.
Right.
Cheap. So there you go. There's another idea for you.
I like it. Thank you.
And it's also the reels on Instagram, Facebook. It as the way that they're talking about with like even with Twitter, with Elon taking Twitter, like he's going to there's paid versions and stuff. It's all going to be 5 second stuff. Like it's going to be because we are such a quick stimulated thing now. That's why TikTok should have probably never gone to a 3-minute video. They should have stayed at 1:15 or whatever it was, or minute, because most people are skipping after 30 to 45 seconds. So
our TikTok videos that do the best tend to be shorter. We put on a 3-minute one and it'll show you the analytics, and it's like, oh, people start really high and then it just like plummets. Like, oh,
it's probably like 30, 40 seconds.
Have that attention span. But that's one of the beautiful things about TikTok is that we found that the content does well on every other social platform. But the same cannot be said vice versa. So like you have a video on Facebook, it's not going to do super well on TikTok, but you can take your TikTok video and post it on Facebook or post it as an Instagram reel. And that's been really helpful.
And it does great.
Yeah.
Well, I could keep you guys all day. You guys are fantastic. I think we could talk forever. And Tyler, it was such an unexpected treat to have you on today. I thank you so much for being here.
For the invite.
If you guys ever need anything in Topeka, or if anybody listening to this needs an injury accident attorney, like there's nobody else to call, right? You call the good guys. I'm always going to call you the good guys. There's no way around that. Any last things you guys want to add? Yes.
I just want to tell you that you do a phenomenal job. I think if you think of another career other than real estate, that the being on television, you remind me of is it Joe Rogan that is the greatest interviewer of all time?
Yeah.
You remind me a lot of him. So you've got a lot of talent.
Oh man, that made my day. I appreciate you saying that. My wife asked my mom, she did this Mother's Day questionnaire thing. It was like, hey, tell us some things. And one of the things that she asked my mom was, hey, what was Cole going to be when he got older? What did you always think? And she always said some kind of like, the answer was, I always knew he'd be in public speaking of some kind. Cause I used to MC like the talent shows in middle school and I've always loved being a public speaker. And yeah, I think that is a calling that I've always been drawn to is interviewing people and being a part of something bigger. And maybe this is one of my future callings, and build my real estate team so big that I could step out and do it more. That'd be my next big thing. So thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I think that means a lot to me. So I hope to have you guys back here maybe in a year and see how things have changed. And
Sure,
as my podcast grows, I mean, you're actually my 11th episode, so I'm not that far in, right? Like this is still pretty new. My audience is growing every day. And yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
And so how can we watch this podcast? You know how to, I'll show you.
Yes. So all how to contact you guys will all be in all the descriptions of everywhere. This will be on YouTube, Spotify, podcast, anywhere you listen to your into your podcast, you can listen to it. It'll be on YouTube. And all of that will be available. I typically put them out on Thursdays. This, I believe, will air next week. So
cool.
So you guys know.
Well, thank you for inviting us.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm glad you were persistent.
I was persistent, wasn't I? It's like, all right, I know you're busy. Let's do this.
Okay, buddy.
Hey, I'll talk to you guys next time.
Okay.
You've been listening to Topeka Business Uncensored, where we interview business owners in the Topeka, Kansas area about their business and a little bit about them as a person. I'm Cole Boling, and I am one of the co-owners with my wife, Jamie, of the Boling Group real estate team with Keller Williams, One Legacy Partners in Topeka. If you are thinking about selling, buying, or investing in real estate, I'd love to connect with you through our website at thebolinggroup.com.